Welcome to the Honestly Adoption Podcast, the show that gives hope and insight from real voices on the foster and adoption journey. Pull up a chair. We're glad you could join us. Here are your hosts, Mike and Kristen Berry.
Friends, welcome back or welcome to the Honestly Adoption Podcast. We are so glad you're here. My name is Mike Berry. Along with Kristen Berry, we're your hosts for the show, and we're happy you guys have joined us. You're joining us for Season 21, Episode 173, and we, for the next couple of weeks, have some really great discussions planned for you guys. We're launching a new series today called Help, I Need Answers, and we're going to be walking through topics such as why does my child reject me? Why won't my child complete a task? What can I say when my child acts out? What do I say to professionals? Why won't my child respect boundaries? Just all kinds of what I would call like these lingering questions, but also these frustrations that we deal with as a parent. I know we've dealt with this. We've dealt with all of these personally as a parent. So we're going to walk you guys through, give you guys our best advice, our best perspective on these topics. And it's just going to be a great time. So that's today, starting today for the next 4 weeks after this week. We really hope you guys have gotten a lot out of it. And again, we're really glad you guys have joined us. Man, it is a warm March day, but right outside of our window here, I feel like we're about to blow away. The wind is so strong.
That's what happens when you live in the Midwest.
It's true. If you want a glimpse into our life.
Sort of feels like, I feel like Dorothy.
Yeah.
In Kansas now. If I go outside, I'm going to end up in Oz.
Yeah, we're so used to it around here, though, like you said. I mean, I was just watching our trampoline out the window, our boys' trampoline, and that thing is literally staked to the ground with like 12-inch rebar stakes. That's just a glimpse into our life. So
I love that you clarified it was the boys' trampoline.
And not ours.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, because, I mean, technically, it's my trampoline.
Yeah, it's
that
ours.
I let the boys jump on.
I think I had delusions of grandeur when we first got that every morning I was going to get up and go out and do like some trampoline exercise routine. Guess how many times I've done that?
0.
Yes, probably negative times. Negative.
You just thought about it.
I did, yeah. So listen, again, I already said this, Season 21, Episode 173. We're kicking off a new series called Help, I Need Answers. And I will invite you guys, if you're brand new to the show or you just started hanging out with us, make sure you visit our podcast website at honestlyadoption.com/podcast. We have the last 2 years worth of shows archived there. You can catch up on those. You can even find quick links over to Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcasts. I think Stitcher's on there, so you can just quickly subscribe to the show on your favorite platform. And you can also leave us a review, which we would really appreciate you doing. I do want to tell you a couple of cool things before we jump into the show that we have going on, a couple of things we have coming up. First of all, we just released a brand new video and worksheet featuring Kristen called Trauma Knowledge 101. And in this video, it's about an 18-minute video, Kristen walks you through a really practical understanding of how trauma changes the brain, how it disrupts attachment, how it causes behaviors to arise in your children, and then what you can do. She gives you a really simple framework to responding in a way that builds trust and connection with your child. You guys, listen, we can just tell you straight up, several years ago, this very framework that she walks you through in this video changed everything for the better for us in terms of our parenting, helped us start building trust and connection with our children, helped us lead our children towards healing, and now it's available to you absolutely 100% free. If you visit traumaknowledgemasterclass.com/trauma101, you can access this video and worksheet for free. You can also click on the link we provide in the show notes over on the podcast website. It'll take you right there. The second thing I want to tell you is that if you're on our email list, we just sent this out a couple of days ago, but we are getting ready to host our annual conference, Insight Conference, completely 100% virtual. This last year, COVID-19 changed everything for everybody. We were planning on doing the event live this past November like we did the year before, but that didn't happen. So now we're taking it virtual. We're bringing it right to your home, to your tablet, to your computer, and we haven't quite opened up registration, but here's what I'll tell you. You're going to want to be on the update list, which you can access at insightconference.org, because when we open registration for this conference at the end of this month, you will automatically be in the running for some really cool special giveaways, prizes, free downloads, super awesome bonus content that we have planned for people who register in those early bird weeks. So insightconference.org, get on the update list, and you'll be the first to know when registration goes live. And the last thing I'll tell you, I mentioned our email list. If you guys aren't an email subscriber of Honestly Adoption, you need to get on our email list, because in the next couple of weeks, next couple of months, we're going to be sending out some really cool opportunities, some free workshops we're doing. Of course, the Insight Conference, Trauma Knowledge 101, which I just told you about, all coming to your email inbox, but you got to be on the list. So jump over to honestlyadoption.com. You can click on the link that gives you our month of free parenting lessons. That'll get you on the email list. Or scroll to the bottom of that page. Click to subscribe to the Home Success Kit. That'll get you on the list. Of course, if you go over to trauma-knowledge-masterclass.com/trauma101, that also gets you on the email list. You guys are going to want to be on this list, okay? So, help, I need answers. We're kicking off this brand new series today, and the very first question that we are answering in this brand new series is this: why does my child reject me? I mean, how many times in our journey have we felt utterly and completely rejected? And back in the day, before we really learned how trauma changes our children's brains and how it rewires their way of interacting with the world, man, we thought this was all about us. We thought that we were doing something wrong. We were screwing this up. That was our journey. But we learned some valuable truths with this.
Yeah. I think so much about parenting is just changing our perspective. There are certain things that in life we respond to with empathy and with kind of a natural understanding. So we kind of use the example of infants a lot, because most of us have sort of an understanding of what an infant should do or shouldn't do. When you have a newborn infant, you typically aren't hurt emotionally hurt when they're screaming. You are typically not frustrated. I mean, it's frustrating when a baby cries for a long time, but your initial response to that is, oh no, what should I do? You don't say to the infant, stop screaming right now. You know that your bottle is coming. You wouldn't say that. You wouldn't try to reason with an infant. You're just going to meet their needs. And you can recognize that high-pitched screaming, wailing, crying is an indication of something else. We all just sort of understand that for the most part. You have an infant, or you see an infant, your neighbor has an infant, you have a niece or nephew, and that child starts screaming. There's something in us that says, oh no, there's a need. What can I do to meet this need? So that comes pretty naturally for us. Then what happens as foster and adoptive parents is that, we get a little farther down the road. Maybe we have an infant. Maybe we have a 3-year-old. Maybe we have a 15-year-old that comes into our home, and they are responding in a way, they're reacting in a way or behaving in a way that makes us feel really confused. But if we can take that instance and filter it through the understanding that we would have had with the newborn, we begin to see that whole circumstance differently. So let's say the 15-year-old has come into our house, and maybe they won't come out of the room for dinner. Or maybe they're yelling back at us. Or maybe they're manipulating or stealing or lying, or just simply rejecting us. We're saying, hey, what kind of dinner do you like? And I'm happy to have you here. What can I get you from the grocery store that you might like to have at our house? And you think, yeah, this is a good question. I'm going to make them feel welcome. Yeah. And instead they're like, I don't want to eat your stupid food.
Yeah.
And you think, well, shoot, I was just trying to be nice.
Yeah.
But if you can go back to the infant scenario and filter it back through the question of what does this child need?
Yeah.
Then changing our perspective as parents is what really needs to happen. If we respond back to that 15-year-old with, well, no, that's just plain ungrateful. I was trying to get you something from the store.
Yeah.
Now we're in an argument. We're not creating a place for healing or trust or growth. We're just angry. We're just hurt. Maybe we've made a really nice dinner and that child will not come out of their room. Maybe we've got a 3-year-old and we bought this lovely toy that we thought they were going to want, but they smashed it into pieces.
Yeah.
And we're thinking, wow, my feelings are really hurt. I really thought you were going to enjoy this toy.
Yeah.
I really thought you were going to enjoy this meal. I really thought we could watch this movie together and we'd all laugh together because we all think this is funny. But all of a sudden, our child is sitting across the room, or arms are folded, or we've picked the child up from school and we think, let's go grab some McDonald's fries today. I know you love McDonald's fries. And the child just sits there, maybe on their phone.
Yeah.
And we're saying, how was your test? You know, who'd you sit with at lunch today? And we think we're going to engage. And the response back is what feels like rejection. And so I think the very first place we have to start with in everything we do as parents is shifting our own perspective.
Yeah.
That it's not really rejection. Yeah. Something else is going on here.
It feels personal. I mean, it feels like it is about you. But I like that you bring up the illustration of a newborn baby, an infant. You know, this is something that we forget. But if you just simply run this through the filter, this idea that it's not about you. When you have a newborn baby, you know, their poopy diaper, their hunger is not about you. It's just something that happened and they're in survival mode and they're trying to get you to help them out of this predicament. That's it. And they don't know how to articulate that other than to cry.
Right.
You know, and it's easy. I mean, I guess there are some people out there that would probably take it personally if a baby was crying. I mean, I guess that's a reality, but...
So I think that's a good place to stop for a second, too, is that this does feel personal sometimes, even with a newborn. I guess when you do have a newborn,
I
mean, gosh, even with a newborn, I remember I've changed your diaper. I've given you a bottle.
I'm begging you to stop crying.
I got your favorite jammies. What is going on? Yeah. And you do start to feel that that's personal.
That's true,
you know, does this child not love me? I'm really screwing this up, and this is bad.
But logically speaking, it's not. It isn't about you, right? But we don't think logically.
They need something.
Yeah, they do need something. Yeah.
And you know, and people can have all different perspectives. I tend to be inward in my guilt and shame and worry and anxiety. So some of our listeners may look at the child and say, that's it. You know, this rejection is about this child.
Yeah.
Some listeners may be more like me. This rejection is about me. Everything I do is wrong. I'm really messing everything up. If you can stop when you're experiencing that feeling of rejection and say, this isn't about me.
Yeah.
And that's twofold. This isn't about me. So I'm okay. I'm trying my hardest. I know it. This isn't about me. This is about something else.
Right.
Secondly, this isn't about me. And I say that two different ways because we can have two different responses to this. Mm-hmm. One, this is about me. I'm not doing a good job. This is about me. I'm not good at this.
Yeah.
We can also have this response where we say, this is about me. I'm the victim. Mm-hmm. I'm the victim. I'm really struggling here. I'm really trying. I need someone to comfort me. I need the child to behave in a way that makes me feel good.
Yeah.
This isn't about me.
Yeah.
This isn't about you. When your child is rejecting, you have got to take yourself out of that. This is
That's
it
good.
Do you feel
That's
sad?
Good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is there an appropriate place to work through that? Yes. Get a therapist.
Yeah.
That is your 1 hour to talk to the therapist about how sad you feel that you're not connecting with your child.
I mean, we've created an entire online community
Yeah,
as an
talk
outlet
with other
for parents. Yeah.
Right. This is not the time for your child to make you feel better.
Right.
This is about you connecting with a trusted person and saying, okay, I need to lay it all out here. I feel awful.
Well, and if you
that's an appropriate place.
Yeah, if you think that your child this is for any parent, right?
Right.
If you think that your child is going to make you happy or going to fill this sadness in you that you feel because you feel like this is about you, then you are setting yourself up for failure as well as the child.
Right.
Because that's not the child's role. Right.
Parenting is not about you.
It's not about you, yeah.
So,
yeah.
Therefore,
what do we do?
That feeling of rejection is not about you. Well,
I need answers.
Right. There's a way to go from, as a parent or a caregiver, to go from feeling like the victim to being a confident caregiver. Yeah, and that's what we want to shift to. We can't actually help our children heal until we are in a positive place ourselves. Yeah. So when we can understand a little bit about what's going on with our child, we can actually gain confidence. So let's go back to the scenario where the child won't come to dinner. We've made this nice dinner. We know it's something they like. We're all sitting around the table as a family. And maybe it's an expectation like it is in our home. You sit at the table. If you're not hungry, that's fine. You can just sit there and chill out with us. But we have this child that will not come to the table. We've got two different ways we can respond to this. One, we can go in guns blazing. You are going to come out of your room right now and you are going to sit down at this table. We can go to the child and maybe we're feeling hurt and we say, I'm just so hurt. I tried so hard at this dinner and I'm so sad and I need you to validate me by coming to dinner. Yeah. We can go to the child and say, hey, listen, it's dinner time. Maybe something else is going on. That child says, I'm not coming to dinner. Or maybe the child says, I'm just not hungry. Or maybe the child just, is giving the silent treatment. We all respond differently to our feelings. So we've come upon this thing that feels like rejection. Another way that we can respond to that is to stop, view this behavior through that shifted perspective. What's actually going on? I'm not being rejected. Something is going on with my child. They are needing something. They're feeling something. We can actually go back to the table. We can say, hey, I see that you're feeling really upset. You know how important it is for us to eat dinner together as a family. But tonight, why don't you go ahead and chill out in your room, and I'll come check on you as soon as dinner's over. Now, we have just totally changed our response to that behavior. Yeah. When we take ourselves and our feelings out of it, we can actually stop. If you, again, go back to the baby, you don't say to the baby, I need to reason through this with you. You need to stop screaming. You need to, but I already changed your diaper. Yeah. You wouldn't navigate through that with your child. You wouldn't negotiate through that with an infant. Yeah. What you need to do with an older child when you're feeling that sense of rejection is approach it differently. What am I really looking at here? Yeah. Well, and I want to say this too. I mentioned at the beginning of this episode this new resource that we have, Trauma Knowledge 101, which features you teaching a very practical understanding of how trauma changes the brain and how to respond differently. And you use a framework called Flip It, which is all in Trauma Knowledge 101. And so what you're saying right here, and Flip It gets into feeling, created by the Center for Resiliency. Center for Resiliency, yeah. And that's centerforresiliency.org, I believe, is where you can find that. But it's over on Trauma Knowledge 101 on the download. You can find it. We have a quick link there. But I wish I would have created it, but I'm not the one who created it. But what you were just saying right there about responding to the child, I can see that you're feeling it. You're validating the emotions. You're seeing the child, but then in the way you just said it, and I can't articulate it the way as good as you just did, but the way you just said that. You validated the child's emotions, but then you also set a boundary, you set a limit for them, and then you prompted them to do something different. You changed it up. And I think that's those are key points in the Flip It model, just a little plug for Flip It. But the way you just said that was perfect because that's that simple framework for being able to you're able to lower the emotional temperature of a room just by doing those three things you just mentioned. You validated the feelings, you acknowledged the feelings, you set the limits. Hey, we can't, I see that you're feeling upset, but we can't scream at people at the dinner table. Right. But maybe we could, and then you fill in the blank, and you prompt them to do something, to change it up, to do something different. Right. And I think that what we can change in our parenting is our expectation.
Yeah.
I know that when you and I were first parents, I had an expectation for my parenting that came from how I grew up. So if we kind of stick with the dinner illustration for now, we ate dinner together every night as a family. That's how I grew up.
Yeah.
And everyone came to the table every night, and everyone ate what was at the table, and everyone cleared the table, and everyone cleaned the dishes, and we did that as a family. And in my memory was that like a happy time where we all got along. Yes. In reality, did my mom probably have to call us to the table more than once? Did my mom probably get frustrated with us?
Oh, totally.
A handful of us didn't like certain vegetables and had to be reminded that we don't say ew at the table or something like that, right? Yes, I know it wasn't, this beautiful picture that I remember in my mind all the time, but it was an expectation that I had for my kids.
Yeah.
So I have to address, too, what is my perspective coming into this? So often when we're feeling rejected, it's because of our expectation.
Right.
So we use the example of picking our child up from school. We've gone to the high school, we picked the child up from school, and we say, hey, honey, I was thinking we could stop by and go to a coffee shop on the way home. And the child says, okay.
Or they're scrolling through their phone and they don't say anything.
Yes, and we're like,
which is maddening.
Hun, babe?
Yeah.
But in my mind, we have a 45-minute drive to our kids' school, so you can work up quite an expectation in that time. And especially when you're trying to learn and heal and grow alongside of your children, you can be driving that 45-minute drive and you're like, man, I'm going to stay connected today.
Yeah.
I am going to check on my child. I've been thinking about my child's past experiences. I'm so proud of how they've persevered. I just really want to be a part of healing and growing and connecting, and I just want my child to know how proud I am of them. And then we pull into that school parking lot and we say, I'm going to take you for coffee. And they're like, mm-hmm.
Or they say something to the effect of, I have a lot of homework, so I'd rather just go home. Or can I go to so-and-so's house instead? And your expectations are dashed.
Is that really rejection? And so some of this, too, when we're feeling that rejection, we need to check ourselves, too. Where did the expectation come from?
Right.
So my expectation of family dinner came from my childhood. That's an okay expectation. But I have built it up to be the foundation of our family life. So when I have a child maybe sitting in their room, I'm just not hungry. I just can't.
Yeah.
I don't feel good. Or I don't like your stupid dinner or whatever.
Yeah.
I feel the crushing disappointment of 43 years worth of my parents' expectation of family dinner. Not realizing that I've built that up to be something that it's not. Do we mostly have dinner together as a family? We do.
Yeah.
You and I have mostly had dinner together with our family. And for the most part, the kids come to the table.
Yeah.
And for the most part, they eat what's there. And they say thank you. And they clear their plates. And we talk about funny stuff. And sometimes it doesn't work out that way because people are humans. So if we can check ourselves and say, what is the expectation? Often when we're feeling rejection, it's actually our fault we felt that way.
Right.
Because we thought one thing and we didn't even communicate that. To the child. Yeah. And that's an unfair expectation. So once we can realize where that feeling of rejection is coming from, we can really shift. So let's say in the scenario of the car ride, it's okay that we feel sad. We thought we'd go get a cup of coffee and we were going to be all Gilmore girls, or in your case, whatever.
Gilmore.
Whatever dad-kid bonding show you can think of.
I don't think I can think of anything off the top of my head. But the
So,
Gilmore Girl analogy is really good because I used that illustration in one of my books in Winning the Heart of Your Child. Mm-hmm. We build, and that was the point of that. Like we build up this ideal, and I think parents get in this trap sometime of thinking it's gonna. And I think that when parents enter the foster adoptive parenting journey, I think that sometimes they think there's a danger when you build this. You have this idealized situation in your mind, like it's gonna be like this, and we're gonna do this, and they're gonna love me. We're gonna have our tough times, sure, but we're gonna love each other. We're gonna go shopping together. I'm gonna, and then you're disappointed because suddenly you realize, wow, not only is this a child, a free-thinking human being, but this is a child whose brain has been altered by their trauma history. And we have to remember that.
That leads into the next piece of understanding from the parent's perspective. And that is that often feeling rejected causes us to reject others.
Oh, yeah, totally.
So not everybody. I mean, there may be people pleasers listening to this. I'm not one of them. So if I feel rejected, my immediate response is, I didn't want to be friends with you anyway.
Right.
I've always been like that. So when I think about my child experiencing the foster care system or experiencing just adoption, loss of their first family, or loss of other caregivers, or loss of a therapist, or loss of their home, their bed, their clothing, their favorite foods, their toys, all of the losses combined. What does that feel like to our children? It's a rejection.
Yeah.
It's a loss. It's an insecurity. So what will happen then in response? It's pretty understandable that when our kids have experienced that level of trauma, that they're going to put a wall up.
Yeah.
And that wall feels yucky from the other side. Anybody who's ever been in an interaction with someone and they're like, man, you got a wall up here. I'm just trying to be nice. I'm just trying to connect. That doesn't feel great. But when we think about it for what it is, what is it? It's a protection.
Yeah.
Because they have already lost.
Yeah.
So if they can keep that wall up, then we won't be another loss.
Yeah.
And if we can remind ourselves of that, that again shifts us from that feeling of sadness, of getting caught up in our own feeling of rejection, and it shifts the way that we view the behavior.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, maybe we've said to the child, hey, kiddo, how are you this morning? Fine. And we're like, oh, dude, why are you talking to me like that? And we feel that wall go up. Or we say, hey, I just want to let you know, I am so proud of the work that you did. And the child says back, are you really? And we think, well,
feel
good
your
night.
blood boiling, right?
Right. Why are you responding to me that way? But if we shift our perspective and we say, wait a second, you're feeling something. You're feeling some loss. This feels uncomfortable to you.
Yeah.
What I'm saying feels uncomfortable to you, and if you believe me, you might lose me.
Yeah.
You might lose that compliment. What if that wall came down and I said, hey, kiddo, I want you to know how proud I am of you? What if the child says back, wow, really? I trust you. I'm so glad that you said that, and then I disappear tomorrow.
You know, one of the things we talk about with behavior management, when we talk about behavior management strategies, and this is a really simple thing to remember, parents, when that behavior starts to arise and you start to feel that frustration and that anger boiling up in you, and we learned this with a child that we were raising years ago, that when that behavior starts to come out, simply whispering to yourself in your mind, this is trauma behavior, can change how you see the circumstances.
Right.
You know, and so, you know, walking yourself through like, this is rejection, there's something else going on here, you know, there's a bigger picture, this child has a trauma history. You need to do all that, but just in the moment when that all starts to come down, when you start to feel, when you pick that child up from school and you're excited because you have the idea to go to Starbucks on the way home, and you know she loves Starbucks, right? But she gets in the car and she's scrolling through her phone so fast there's smoke coming off the screen, or she looks at you and says, well, I would rather just go home because I'm really tired and I just want to take a nap. And you're like, seriously?
Ow.
You have to remember that this child potentially has been holding all of these emotions and feelings and lack of understanding and whatever else has come from, you know, having that trauma history. She is holding that within her like a dam that's swelling, right? And so she gets in the car with you. It's a safe place. You're a safe place. And suddenly the dam bursts. It's not about you, right? But simply saying, this is trauma behavior. I have to remember that. I have to give this child compassion. I have to respond with grace. Changes everything.
Right.
It changes. It can lower the temperature.
And I think when you start to play out the second scenario where you respond with understanding and compassion, then you set the stage for a different response from your child.
Yeah.
So what happens in the scenario where we go to the child's bedroom and we say, hey, it's okay. I don't know what's going on with you today, but I want to know and I want to help. And if you need a little bit of time in your room away from dinner, that's all right.
Yeah.
I'll check in with you in a bit. Now we have set the stage. It didn't become about me and the dinner that I made and how hard I worked, but my parents are expecting me to raise my children the way, it's not all that. I've laid that aside and I've said, I'm just here to check on you.
Yeah.
What can we do then? Now we have set the stage for in the future. We can, maybe we go back in. Dinner's done. We take a warm plate of food. We sit down and we say, you ready to talk? Maybe they're not ready, and that's okay. Yeah. Let's talk in a little bit. Or maybe they are ready to talk. And in that conversation, we have now been able to have a conversation that put their needs and their security up front.
Yeah.
Now what happens next? Are they never going to come to dinner again? Probably not. Because what we can say through that conversation, once we've talked, once the child has had a chance to explain what was going on, how they were feeling, they know that we can be trusted because we're sitting in there chatting with them about it.
Yeah.
At some point, not first thing, this is not the first priority. At some point, we say something like, hey, family dinner's really important to me. Mm-hmm. And I'm okay that you needed some time today. And you know what? Sometimes we all need to do that. And that's all right. Tomorrow, let's have family dinner together, okay? And then maybe when tomorrow comes around, we preempt all of this. So now we know kind of what went down at dinner time. And maybe an hour before dinner or while we're picking the child up from school, we say, I want to check in. How are you feeling today? Yeah. Did everything go better? How'd that fight with your best friend turn out? Whatever it was, we're now engaged in that before family dinner. Mm-hmm. I'd like to have family dinner together. But in the long-term goal of my family is healing above all else. It is healing and connection and security. And so we'll often find that rather than drill down on whatever our expectation was as a parent, that it is better to wait for things to re-regulate and then talk about that later. Yeah. Wow, you really were struggling today. Thank you for sharing that with me. Yeah. Listen, I do want to talk to you about saying that dinner was disgusting. I do want to talk to you. I know you could tell that I felt sad that we didn't go for coffee today. But I want to let you know it's okay for you to want to come home and have a little break after school. It's okay if you just need to veg out a little bit. But listen, the invitation's open. Let's get coffee sometime.
Yeah, and
later.
Sometimes that's what you have to do with, and we have lots of parents that will say to us, but what happens if I say that and they say, well, I don't want to talk to you, or well, I don't want to do that. That's fine. That's a key aspect of connection. I know it sounds really contrary for me to say that, but when you can respond, we like to call it keeping the door open. Always keep the front door open, figuratively and probably literally speaking, right? If your child's an adult and you're dealing with rejection with them, but an important catalyst to building trust and building connection is being willing to say, hey, that's okay. I just want you to know I'm here if you need me. What you will find is that more times than not, that child is going to come to you, not always, and they are going to say, hey, can we talk about whatever it is, right? Or I'm really sorry I said that. When you simply step back and not make it about you and extend that invitation like, hey, listen, you need me, I'm here to talk. That's okay. Like you just said, it's okay if you need to go home and rest. I totally understand that.
Right.
Right.
And I think that what is important is rather than nagging, circle back around. Don't forget, because a lot of times our kids are waiting for us to ask again. Yeah. So don't pester. Yeah. But if you go into your child's room after this feeling of rejection and you say, look, it seems like you're feeling really sad. It seems like you're really struggling right now. It is very likely that your child's going to say, nothing. I said nothing. Yeah. Everything's fine. Or you're just a terrible mother. Okay. Yeah. These are all responses you might get back. That's okay. Try again later. So you say something like, okay, I'm just checking in. I can tell when you're feeling sad by the way that your body looks.
Yeah.
I can tell when you're feeling angry because I noticed you were clenching your fists earlier. And I'd love to be able to help you through that.
Yeah.
But it's okay if you don't want to talk right now. I'll check in with you later. You're going to have opportunities, or you need to create those opportunities. Hey, can you help me? I was going to say out at the barn, like everybody has a barn. We have a barn.
We do, yeah.
Could you help me out in the yard? Could you help me run this errand? Hey, listen, I'm heading to get groceries. You want to ride with me?
It's a good connection.
Create a situation. This does not have to be a weekend-long summit where you and your child
for most
get to the bottom of what
that.
happened at school today.
Yeah.
But you can cycle back around. Let's say you went out into the yard, you're doing a couple chores around the yard, and you just say again, you really have seemed recently like you're struggling.
Yeah.
Is there anything I can do?
Yeah. That's good.
But cycle back around. Remembering that rejection is not about you. Remembering that vulnerability can feel dangerous. It is dangerous.
It is dangerous, yeah.
For us and for our child.
Yeah.
And that often that feeling of rejection that you are feeling as a parent was created by your own expectations, and it's created by your child's desire to protect themselves. And once we shift that perspective, often we can respond in a way that creates a place for healing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, guys, I hope that you've gotten a lot out of this. I mean, we have these discussions all the time, and every time we do, it always motivates and challenges us. We're kind of like iron sharpening iron here, and so we hope that that's been the case for you guys. We have lots to unpack and discuss in this series over the next month after listening today. But listen, we would love to know what you're thinking. Shoot us a message at hello@honestlyadoption.com. Tell us what you think about this show, about this whole series and this topic. And before you go, make sure you visit honestlyadoption.com/podcast. You can check out the archive of past shows. I think we have 2 years of shows on there. Subscribe to the show, and definitely check out the show notes that accompany this particular episode, because at the beginning of our time together, I talked about some really cool stuff that we have going on in the Honestly Adoption Company. We'd love to have you guys check it out. All of those links are there. Again, thank you so much for joining us this week for the Honestly Adoption Podcast, and we'll see you next time.